What is going on, everyone, and welcome back to the channel. I hope you're all doing well. Today I have 6 revenge stories for you. So without further ado, let's not waste any time. Let's get into the first one. I lent my cousin my favorite jacket for one night and she tried to rebrand it as hers. So I let the stitching do the talking. A few months ago, my cousin, who is a 27-year-old woman, asked to borrow my favorite jacket for a work event. It's not designer, but it's one of those pieces that looks expensive because it fits perfectly and it has history. I found it years ago, had the sleeves tailored, replaced the buttons, and I sew a tiny cloth label inside my nicer stuff because I'm forgetful and I've had clothes vanish at gatherings before. My cousin promised it would be one night. No food, no smoke, she'd hang it up, she'd drop it off the next day. You can probably guess where this is going. The next day. Oh my god, I forgot. I'll bring it next week. The next week? Oh, well, I'm out of town. Then she started getting snippy, like I was annoying her by wanting my own thing back. Oh, I hate those people. 2 weeks later, I see a photo of her on social media wearing my jacket with a caption like, "New staple, obsessed," and people in the comments asking where she got it. She replied, "Vintage find," with a little sparkle emoji. I texted her, polite at first, like, "Hey, that's mine, please bring it back." She responded with, "Lol, it's literally just a jacket," and then tried the gaslight special. She said maybe we have similar ones, and anyway, she doesn't remember borrowing it, and I'm making drama over nothing. It made me feel kind of stupid because it's a jacket, but also it's my jacket, and she was acting like I was crazy for noticing. So I stopped arguing, and I waited. My aunt hosted a small family get-together a couple of weeks later. Not a big dinner, just coffee and desserts and people passing a baby around. My cousin showed up, wearing the jacket again, like she was daring me. I did the sweetest voice I could manage and said, "That looks really good on you. Where did you end up getting it? I love that cut." She smiled and said, loud enough for everyone to hear, "Right? I scored it ages ago. I just never wore it." Perfect. I walked over and said, "No way, can I see the inside? I did a little repair on mine and I'm curious if it's the same." She got tense and tried to step back, but I lightly pinched the inner seam near the collar and flipped it open. There it was, my little cloth label, stitched in crooked the way I always do it, my first name and the year. I didn't yank it or make a scene, I just turned to my aunt and said, calm as anything, "Oh good, it is mine. I'm so relieved, I thought I lost it." The room went quiet in that very specific way family rooms go quiet. My cousin's face went red, then she laughed too hard and said I was embarrassing her. I said, "You embarrassed yourself when you decided keeping it was easier than returning it." Then I took it off her chair, put it on, and went back to the kitchen like it was the most normal thing in the world. She tried to follow me and whisper fight, but my aunt cut her off and asked why she'd lie about something so small. My cousin left early, slammed the door, and later texted me that I'm petty and vindictive and I, quote, "care more about stuff than family." I told her I care about basic respect. The best part is she can't even spin it online now, because if anyone asks about that vintage find, she has to remember it had my name sewn into it the whole time. Okay, very, very interesting indeed. First of all, I have to think to myself, if you had never put a label in your jacket, like I don't put labels in my jackets or clothing at all. It's something that my mum used to do for my stuff at school because, you know, you can't trust a young kid not to lose clothes at school. I mean, I definitely did lots of times, but I wouldn't do it now. But my point is, if you hadn't done that, would she have genuinely just stolen that forever and been like, well, you have no proof it's yours, therefore I'm keeping it, I'm not giving it back? Maybe. What a strange person. Also, the audacity to say, why do you care? It's only a jacket. No, that is so irrelevant. And also, if it is only a jacket, why don't you just go and buy one yourself if it's only a jacket? Ridiculous. Also, you may have noticed, guys, if you're watching on YouTube, I'm in a new room. Now, is this room real or not? You let me know in the comments down below. Let's get into the second story. Gas thief revenge. I had a neighbor that would walk into my backyard, take my gas can of gas for my mower and put it in his car and mower and then return the can. I found this out because I'd begun to get a little suspicious that this 5-gallon can was always nearly empty every time I went to mow the lawn, and it was only like a 1-quart tank on the lawnmower. This was back before cheap, easy security cameras, so I had to set up a webcam from my laptop with motion detection software. I caught the guy going into the backyard literally 5 minutes after I left the house. For the next week, every time I had to take a pee, I did it in that gas can. Now full of pee, but still smells enough like gas to fool an idiot. Then I left it on the back patio again. I made a big show of checking the fluids in my car, packing a few bags. I made sure the neighbour knew I was getting ready to go on a trip and I'd be gone a while, hoping he takes the bait. I come back home in about an hour. Car trouble. The thief is in his front yard, putting the rope on his lawnmower so hard, it looks like he's going to have a stroke. Turning bright red and cursing. Later, he gets in his car, makes it a couple of blocks up the road, and it suddenly breaks down. I check the gas can on my patio, and it's empty. Also, I just wanted to add, this guy was a huge POS. That's not the only thing he did. I found out he had arrest warrants, so I ended up getting him arrested by applying for a sheriff's ride-along program in his name. I don't know what that is, but that is a mental ending to the story. Short, sweet, simple. I just love the idea of this guy pouring pee into his car. Just phenomenal. Once again though, like the first story, how can you be that, I don't know what the word is, like, is it entitled? Is it just a thief? Why are you stealing from your neighbor? Isn't it obvious as well? You're just not going to keep getting away with this. It was just too obvious that I'm not getting as much gas as I should be from my gas can. What's going on? And then once you figure that out, it's not that hard to work out that someone's stealing it. Unless like a hole in your gas can. I was like, you know what I mean? It's like obvious that someone close to you in proximity is doing this. And then there's only a few people it could possibly be. Clearly this guy just doesn't care anyway, but yeah, insane. Also, that last bit, a sheriff's ride-along program, don't know what that is, but sounds like this guy probably deserves it. My roommate kept leaving the fridge door open, so I turned his midnight snack into a rave. My roommate constantly ruins our groceries. He has this habit of going to the fridge at night, staring at the food, grabbing a cheese stick, and then forgetting to close the door all the way. We've lost so much milk to spoilage because of him. I asked him nicely to stop, but he didn't. So I decided to create a reminder system. I went online and bought a bulk pack of 30 musical fridge magnets. I'm talking about the cheap plastic ones shaped like parrots, frogs, and strawberries that screech when they sense light. I found a vendor on Alibaba selling them by the pound, so I bought enough to cover every square inch of the appliance. I waited until he went to work. I covered the inside of the fridge door with them. I put them on the shelves. I hid one inside the egg carton. That night, I was awake reading when I heard him walk to the kitchen. I heard the suction of the door opening. Then I heard it all. Imagine 30 different 8-bit nursery rhymes playing at slightly different speeds, all at maximum volume. It sounded like a digital nightmare. I heard Kyle yelp, drop a plate, and slam the door shut immediately. He hasn't left the door ajar since. Best few dollars I ever spent. Now, my only issue with this story is that this didn't happen at like 3 a.m. Completely scaring the life out of him. I thought this was like a midnight snack sort of guy. Not, in the evening when people are winding down, but still very, very good. And yeah, I do sometimes think, is it worth all this effort just for that 3 seconds? But if he hasn't left the door ajar since, then the answer to my question is yes. Somebody has said in the comments actually, which is a great suggestion, adjust the front feet of the fridge higher than the back feet so the door automatically shuts, which is very clever, but you shouldn't have to do that. You should just have a roommate that closes the fridge door. Also, do they not have anything in the fridge as well that will be ruined by them not closing the fridge door? Surely they do. Or maybe they don't care. I got quiet revenge on my roommate by letting him live with his own words. This happened last year when I was sharing a place with a guy I'd known since college. We were never close friends, more like convenient adults who paid rent on time and stayed out of each other's way. The problem was his mouth. He had this habit of making little comments that were always framed as jokes, but somehow always landed on me. Stuff like, must be nice to have an easy job when I work from home, or wow, you're really sensitive today, if I asked him to clean up his mess. If I called it out, he'd laugh and say I was overthinking it. He also loved giving unsolicited advice, especially in front of other people, correcting how I cooked, how I folded laundry, how I parked. Nothing big enough to justify a blow-up, just constant low-grade disrespect that made me dread being in my own kitchen. I tried talking to him once, very calm, very adult, and he said, word for word, "I'm just honest. People should be tougher." That sentence stuck with me. So, I stopped reacting, completely. Instead, I started taking him at his word. Every time he made one of his little comments, I treated it like useful feedback. If he said, "You're being dramatic," I'd say, "Good to know," and write it down in the notes app on my phone. If he said, "Relax, it's not a big deal," I'd nod and say, "Okay, I'll remember that." At first, he didn't notice. Then, one night we had friends over and he did his usual thing, joking about how I'm uptight about dishes. I smiled and said, very politely, "You told me before that honesty is important, so I'm glad you're being honest." He laughed, but it was a confused laugh. Over the next few weeks, I kept doing it. Calm, pleasant, zero emotion. I also stopped covering for him. When the landlord asked why the trash was overflowing, I repeated his words back. "Oh, he said it's not a big deal." When a mutual friend asked why the living room was always a mess, I said, "He thinks people should be tougher about that stuff." Slowly, people started looking at him differently. Not angrily, just with that pause, that little eyebrow raise. He started stumbling over his jokes, adding, "I mean, unless you don't like that," and "I'm kidding, obviously," way too late. One night, he finally snapped and asked why I was being so weird and passive-aggressive. I told him I wasn't. I said I was taking his advice seriously and trying not to be sensitive. He went quiet, like genuinely quiet, and after that he mostly stopped. No apology, of course, but the comments dried up. A month later, he moved out and told someone I was hard to read. Honestly, that's the best compliment I've ever got. Wow, this is the definition of patience as a virtue. There is no way that I would have been able to let this go on as long as it did. But you just show me that sometimes it's better to let the person in question just ruin things for themselves and understand what they're doing themselves rather than you explicitly calling them out on it, because you didn't even need to say anything at all. And it got to the stage where this guy was realizing that, oh, actually, I've been doing this a lot. I'm actually quite a bad person. Do I have to say to people, "Oh, no, I'm joking about that," or "I'm not being serious," because actually I was being serious, but now I'm thinking, what am I even saying in the first place? Like, you're getting him to question his entire existence and personality, which is phenomenal. And the fact that he moved out is just so good. You won in the long term. Well done. Revenge by wedding registry. I dated a guy on and off in high school and then in college. We were each other's first loves and bonded over our extremely quirky senses of humor. In college, we got engaged. He was a year older than me, and I had a year left of school. At the time, we were both pretty traditional, excited to get married young and start a family. I was getting bridal magazines for years and dreaming of the big day. During my senior year, I started to see the world a bit more clearly, wanting more for myself in life, getting more politically active. Bush was running for his second term. I felt strongly about him not being re-elected. My then fiance told me he voted for Bush because his mum said she'd make him a sandwich if he did. I was sickened. This was the straw that broke the camel's back, and I ended it. By the end of my senior year, my ex-fiance found a girl who was how I used to be, young and wanting marriage and kids, and he was quickly engaged again. I was pretty heartbroken, thinking how I'd given him the best years. While studying for my nursing boards, I kind of stalked their wedding planning. When they finally registered for gifts, I pored over the things they wanted, and I didn't see him in any of it until I finally did. There it was, our quirky sense of humour. They had registered for a welcome mat that said, "Leave." I went and bought it immediately, paying cash. This was months before the wedding, and I knew what he was doing. I guarantee when he saw the Leave doormat purchased from the registry, he was waiting and wondering who bought it, laughing to himself about the one stupid item he actually scanned and requested as a wedding gift, excited more about the reveal of who bought such a stupid item than even the gift itself. And he never got that gift. Gift after gift at the shower, it was never opened. Hoping it would appear at their house, it never did. Wedding day came and went and no Leave doormat. He carried her across a threshold with nowhere to wipe his feet. It's incredibly silly and slightly petty, but it still, till this day, makes me laugh. Okay, well, this is definitely petty, but, you know, it's a cute little petty, and I like that a lot. I was thinking to myself, surely you're not invited to the wedding, and then I'm not exactly sure how you saw the gift registry, but it doesn't really matter. You did, and yeah, you can imagine he was really excited to see who had got him this doormat, and it just never arrived. That's the sort of thing that you would think about most days, I reckon. I really think that he would. He'd be like, where is that doormat? Who got it for me? He may even have asked people that went to the wedding, anyone know like who got that doormat? No one has any idea, and that's the brilliance of it, and he will never know for his entire life unless he's watching this right now, in which case, sorry to have ruined the surprise. And now for our final revenge story of this episode. Dog owner harasses me out of field because of my dangerous dogs, so I show her a dangerous dog. So, I've got 2 German Shepherds who were at the time a year old and in their Velociraptor phase. I lived in an apartment and had to go out to a field to let them get out their zoomies on a regular basis because they're big old dogs. We lived next to a college that had a lot of open fields, away from people, and a lot of other people would regularly take their dogs there, so that's where we would typically go. I always made sure to take them earlier in the morning when we'd have the field to ourselves, so they could run around freely, just playing. Well, one morning, we're doing our usual routine, and I notice a lady with a smaller dog walking near us. Cool, no problem. People regularly walk their dogs, so I just call my 2 over to me and lead them further out. Well, instead of just continuing on her walk, she starts walking towards us, and I'm getting weirded out. I reel them in, put their leashes back on their harnesses, and have them sit still beside me while I figure out what this lady's deal is. She continues to walk towards us, and I call out, asking her not to approach us because she's got this demon of a pug barking at us, and my dogs are getting nervous because of it. They're not aggressive at all, but they've both been attacked by another dog prior to this, and it was traumatizing for all of us. That's why I go for open fields with nothing and nobody in them. Instead of stopping, she still walks towards us, and at this point I'm like, lady, what the frick is your problem? And then she decides to speak up. Well, since you're just going to let your dogs run around without leashes when they're a dangerous breed, it should be fine if I let mine run around, right? I'm in disbelief because we're literally in an open field with no one else but us. Plus, I always leave their harnesses on so I can grab them just in case. Her hellhound continues yapping, my dogs are freaking out, she's trying to provoke me, and I am overwhelmed, so I just take my dogs back to the car. I'm in tears at this point and so embarrassed as it's already so hard to be a large dog owner. I understand I have a responsibility to be more careful because I get it. Big dogs can be scary and suffer more consequences if they act up. I take that responsibility seriously, and I take every precaution to make sure they get their needs without inconveniencing other people, and we still get effed over. I put my babies in the car, and it's obvious they're disappointed because we'd literally only been there for 10 minutes. I'm crying in my car and look back out to where she is, and I lose my freaking mind. This female dog lets her dog off the leash so it can run around. She wanted the field to herself. Something in me snapped, and I roll down the windows so I can leave my 2 in the car for a second, and I start walking towards her. I didn't even have a game plan for anything. I'm just angrily marching over to her. And as I get closer, I just hear that Palpatine line in my head go, "Do it," and I go absolutely feral. I bend over and start chasing and barking at her heck spawn of a dog, and all hell breaks loose. I'm barking like a maniac while the dog is basically screaming, you know those weird noises pugs make, and this lady is losing it. She's screaming at me and trying to chase me, but I don't care. She can't even catch me because she's massive, which plays out perfectly, because when her pug comes darting towards her, he goes in between her legs and trips her up, which sends her down. She literally looked like a turtle on its back, and she's just flailing around, screaming. I run back to my car, and I feel freaking amazing. She's screaming something about police, and we just drive off to get some pup cups. I ended up taking them on a walk instead, which usually sucks because they pull me like a ragdoll, but I was so happy I didn't even care. I'm almost never confrontational, and I've got pent-up retail rage, so yeah, it felt therapeutic to finally be able to stick it to someone. There we go, saving the best to last, in my opinion. That was a phenomenal story, and I love those sort of stories where the individual who's written it and has had someone be like horrible to them and has finally stood up for themselves is someone that doesn't normally do that, but they just feel that sense of necessity to not be walked over like a doormat this time and actually stand up for themselves, go a bit feral like OP did. And I can't imagine the feelings afterwards of just victory, pride in yourself. Who cares if you made yourself look weird or whatever? Who cares if you're getting pulled along the pavement by your dogs? That's a massive win for you, and you must feel so much delight in the fact that you did what you did. So well done. Great revenge. Also, what a horrible woman, by the way. Doing something like that. Saying to somebody, oh, your dogs aren't on a lead, just so you then take your dog off a lead and have the field to yourself. Disgusting. Anyway, guys, that is going to do it for this one. Really hope you enjoyed it. And my new room. Wow, what a lovely room it is. If you enjoyed my room and these stories, subscribe to the channel for more room content coming up soon. And of course, more revenge stories like this coming up soon as well. I'll put one on screen right there. Go and check that out if you haven't listened to that one already. Catch you soon. Much love. Subscribe.